Well, it's been another crazy but yet fun year to get outdoors. I'm Adam Eagle, and thanks for tuning in to KSL Outdoors. Tonight we're going to look back at some of our favorite stories from the past year. We're going to start with a Nevada fishery that has a Utah tie. It's the story of Pyramid Lake and the once thought lost LAHONTAN cutthroat trout, and how this species was discovered in a drainage in Utah back in the 70s, and how this cutthroat has made a remarkable recovery thanks to biologists from both states and a landowner from northwestern Utah. Pyramid Lake is located on the Paiute tribe's reservation about 30 miles north of Reno. 10 years ago, word of double-digit cutthroat brought anglers from all over the world to come fish Pyramid for the fabled LAHONTAN cutthroat trout.
Last time I was out here, I was 2 years ago, and I think I caught an 18.5 pounder. It was a big fish, stupid big.
There's two different strains of cutthroat. There's the pilot strain and the summit strain. The summit strain was brought into the lake to kind of help the lake after they fished the pilot peaks into almost extinction in this lake. Late 1800s, early 1900s, this lake was commercially fished for a very long time. It was used for feeding the mining camps and railroad camps. And they kept fishing, and started to realize there were no more fish in this lake.
By the early 1940s, the giant Pyramid Lake cutthroat trout were gone, and they were thought to be extinct. So, how is it that anglers are now catching giant LAHONTAN cutthroat trout once again? To find where the LAHONTAN cutthroat was rediscovered, I had to drive 30 miles north of Wendover to the rugged mountain range in Utah's West Desert called Pilot Peak Range and meet local rancher Steve Dowdy.
I was looking for a place to build a house in the middle of nowhere.
And found it.
I think I was sent here actually, but yeah, you know, I think just fate sent me here. I noticed the fish in the creek, but found out about the fish through Bryce Nielsen in '84, I would say, 1984.
8 years before Steve purchased his property, Don Duff with the BLM was out in the West Desert looking for remnant populations of Bonneville cutthroat trout. He discovered a population of cutthroat in Morrison Creek. This is a picture Don took of the fish back in 1975.
They just had a different appearance. They're much more bronze and not as many spots. So anyway, they took them all and they sent them over to Bob Benke, Colorado State University. And he, of course, was a Mr. Cutthroat. He knew about every cutthroat that existed. And he looked at them, and he was excited as can be. He said, these are the original Pyramid Lake cutthroat.
The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service got involved to try and recover this threatened species. They set up a trap on Morrison Creek, hoping to get eggs to reestablish the population.
Their eggs died and everything, so they basically gave up on it. I'm not one to give up on something that I get interested in.
Bryce, being the inventive person he is, renegade, you know, he approached me to, like, I got an idea, you know, let's put some in this crazy guy's pond. So that's what we did.
And then couldn't believe how much they grew. I mean, they just grew like mad. I just thought, hell, if they put them in Pyramid Lake, they got Tui Chub in there, they got a great forage base and stuff. If they are what they are, they'll take off and go in there. And as much to my surprise, they did, and today it just astounds me.
Okay, now pick your rod tip and arms high.
Nice.
Yeah!
Biggest trout I've ever caught.
That's what, 12 pounds?
The word magical is all I can say.
Oh my gosh.
Look at that tank. Oh my gosh, look at that. I, for one, as an angler who has now caught some of the Pilot Peak strain of LAHONTAN cutthroat trout, just want to say thanks to everyone that made this possible. The Paiute Tribe, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, Trout Unlimited, Don Duff, and of course Steve and Bryce for realizing the dream that all of us can now feel on the end of our lines. Cool beans, man! The history of the LAHONTAN cutthroat trout is one of many success stories across the West. It shows where biologists like Bryce and landowners like Steve can make a difference for all of us as sportsmen. Welcome back to our Best of 2021. I'm Adam Eagle. You know, it was back in August that my good buddy Mike Pritchett with King's Camel gave me a call and told me that he had heard that a man named Jeff Cross had decided to mentor his once-in-a-lifetime desert sheep tag that took him 24 years to draw to a special needs young man or girl. Mike decided to nominate Waylon Long. He's a young man that went on a turkey hunt with us with King's Camel, and before I knew it, we were down in southern Utah to meet this amazing man.
Waylon, are you ready? Let's do this. I'm gonna have so much fun. We're gonna have a fantastic time with all of these friends and family, and I'm so excited for you, Waylon. This is your Desert Bighorn sheep hunt.
Meet Jeff Cross, an Orem hunter who is mentoring 13-year-old Waylon Long on his once-in-a-lifetime sheep hunt.
We are set up.
Jeff didn't know Waylon or his family. He just decided he wanted to share this experience with someone less fortunate.
Yeah, so I drew it with 24 points, and it's just been a lifelong dream to take a Desert Bighorn sheep. And after we were down here scouting earlier last month, I just felt that this was a sheep for somebody else. And we made contact with a couple individuals, and following week we got to meet Waylon and his family down at his home, and I just knew then that this was his sheep hunt. So we brought all of these great people together to help Waylon be successful, so glad to have you part of our team.
Unbelievable that we could even do this, and that he would sacrifice his 25 years of putting in for this thing for my little boy. It amazes me.
Better buckle up, here we go.
Pretty good little ram. He's not bad.
He's really flared.
Really?
Let's get her done.
A plan is made. The majority of the group will keep looking while Waylon, his family, and Jeff will head down into the canyon where the ram was spotted.
And we started to just slowly come down the canyon and just look the best that we could. And so we stopped and just waited, and then another lamb and another ewe came around the corner, and we just figured there's got to be a ram. And so we stayed put.
Waylon's like, there he is, there he is. I'm like, well, that one's not quite it yet, Waylon, and we'll just keep watching. And so we just kept waiting and waiting, got Jeff to come up there with us, and so we could get him positioned, and we seen the three of them, and then finally.
There's a big one, there's a big one, to the left.
We seen the ram. After that, he was just shaking, so excited, and you know, he was patient. He had ram fever. Started shaking, and let's go. Wait till there's nothing behind him. Okay, and you have a clear shot. Just wait, shoulder. Okay, get it right on him. Get him. Oh, wait a minute. Wait till you got a clear shot. Okay, can you get that front shoulder? Yeah. Okay, get that front shoulder ready. Go.
I picked the wrong one. Oh, I hope he got it.
How was that? That's awesome, dude. Nice. That's cool. That's freaking awesome.
To look at Waylon and to see a smile that I've never seen on that young boy's face. It was like Christmas morning, and so shortly thereafter he says, Jeff, I want to give you a hug. Good job, Waylon. Coming to you.
This is the most amazing thing in selfless act I've ever seen anybody do. To be able to take my boy, you know, this is my dream as well as his, sharing it with the younger ones, teaching them generation to generation to, you know, preserve it, make it last, teach the next generation, and just keep it going.
Boy, what can you say about a man like Jeff Cross? He sure made Waylon's year, that's for sure. Hey, in the DWR's mentor program, it's a great program that has helped thousands of kids across the state experience hunts that they might not otherwise have had. So I encourage you to maybe do some of the same. I know I like to every once in a while as well. Welcome back to KSL Outdoors. Our next stop is Big Mountain Lodge down in the little town of Farron, Utah. And just southeast of Farron is a cool place called the San Rafael Swell. It's a great place to go riding with some cool history and some amazing vistas.
We're just getting ready to go on into Copper Globe here today and check out some ruins from an old copper mine down there. So it should be good scenery and good place to explore today.
Our exploration today kicks off at the Moore exit just off I-70. The ride to Copper Globe Mine is short, about 7 miles, but very scenic.
Yeah, it's kind of steep and rocky, some good rock climbing and kind of a slow go in places. Hopefully when we get down here we might see some wild horses or check out these mine ruins down here. As you come into the Copper Globe Mine, this rock formation that you see looks kind of like a globe. That's where it gets its name from, Copper Globe. Just around the corner will be the mine. Yeah, there's lots of different places to explore. This is just one of many. Every time I go out, even though I grew up here, just finding new places, new trails, new things to explore, new little points of interest as you travel along. There's not people elbow to elbow out here. You can get out here and you may see people, you may not when you're out here.
For years, the San Rafael Swell has been considered one of the undiscovered natural wonders of the American West. The swell is 2,000 square miles of public land, known for scenic sandstone formations, deep canyons, expansive panoramas, multiple Indian art sites, and cowboy and outlaw history that is found right here in the heart of Utah.
I love the San Rafael Swell. When you have skies cobalt blue like this, there's nothing like it.
Lynn has been writing OHV articles and exploring Utah's back roads for nearly 3 decades.
I think that people are discovering the backcountry in a way that we've never seen before. In fact, people in Utah are discovering Utah. And I think you're going to see a lot more people in the backcountry. It's good and bad, but Utah is huge and it can absorb a lot of it. If you don't get off the highway, if you don't get off the interstate, you'll never see Utah.
One of the many spectacular views that I would consider a must-see in the swell is Eagle Arch, a rugged and precarious arch that sits in the bottom of Eagle Canyon.
Unbelievably beautiful, with arches, hole in the rocks, formations. Every turn is a different formation. You can never get tired of it. And being that it's not very populated even makes it better.
We have multiple tours that we can take people on, either with a guide or a virtual tour with an app on their phone, and we have all the waypoints marked so they can take themselves on a tour. We have some Polaris Razors that we rent, some four-wheelers that we rent, and then also we just got into American Landmasters. Basically from Big Mountain Lodge they can go either direction and don't have to trailer out. You can literally ride your side-by-side either onto the mountains or out here onto the swell. Yeah, just miles and miles. We're here at the Slipper Arch here this morning. This is just one of the highlights. We'll see probably 3 arches on this trail that we're doing today, but this is by far the biggest one and the neatest one.
I think people know of it, but they don't take the time to come down because it's a little farther away. And it's not quite a mecca like Sand Hollow or Moab is. And so I think people just don't know how cool it is, how beautiful it is, and just the history down here.
Brad and Julie with Big Mountain Lodge are great hosts, and the lodge is situated just perfectly between the swell. On the east and on the west, they've got the Manti La Salles. I'd recommend giving them a try and checking it out. It's a great place to take your family for an adventure. We sure do appreciate you tuning in every Saturday night. You know, for my producer Jared and I, it's a labor of love, but something we sure enjoy. We've got some great stories lined up for this year. In fact, this week we're headed out to find some safe ice and hopefully some great fishing. We're also working on a story with the Division of Wildlife Resources on what they're doing with our deer herds in Utah, what can be done, and what their partners are finding from BYU as well. And as we sign off, I'd like to say thanks to our sponsors. We couldn't do it without them and their support. Some of them have been around with us for over 10 years. I'm Adam Meikle for my producer Jared Hargrave, wishing you a great 2022. and hoping you get out with your family and friends and make some memories outdoors. We'll see you next weekend. Good night.